Good morning, this is Seta channel. The theme of this verification is full ball throw with English. This serves as the foundational knowledge for the next video, throw verification with English. The verification is divided into 3 sub-themes. The first sub-theme is to verify the effects of different contact points and cue speeds while fixing the shot angle to full ball. I will observe the behavior of the cue ball and quantify the path of the object ball for analysis. I will quickly explain the shot settings. There are 3 levels of cue speed: 11 kph, 9 kph, and 7 kph. Explanation of contact points. High, follow shot, 1 type, common. Middle, stop shot, 3 types. Low, draw shot, 1 type, common. Due to considerations with English, the high and low contact points are set more conservatively than last time. There are 3 types of side contact points: no English, 0 mm, right English of 6.5 mm, and right English of 10 mm. A quick explanation of the verification method follows. 2 types of printed paper layouts are used. One is for stop shots, and the other is a combined layout for follow and draw shots. The shooting dates are divided accordingly. The measurement position is 800 mm. Due to space constraints, the following abbreviations are used. The explanation of shot settings and the verification method has concluded. I will now start the verification for sub-theme 1, full ball throw with English. Subtheme 1 verification has concluded. I will show the results in a table. The table has been transformed. The data has been transformed into graphs. The graph on the left is for stop shots, the one in the middle is for follow shots, and the one on the right is for draw shots. The graphs have been consolidated into one. The blue line represents right English at 6.5 mm, and the red line represents right English at 10 mm. The vertical axis shows the amount of throw, with higher values indicating a greater amount of throw. I will now begin the analysis of Subtheme 1. Observation of cue ball behavior and 2. Quantification of object ball path in full ball throw with English. 1. Regarding cue ball behavior, it has been confirmed that when there is English, the cue ball does not stop after hitting a full ball. Since comparing the amount of cue ball deviation seems complicated, I will not analyze it this time. 2. There are significant differences in the object ball's path depending on the shot settings. When comparing by cue speed, the throw amount increases as the speed decreases in the order of 11 kph, 9 kph, and 7 kph. When comparing high, middle, and low contact points, the throw amount increases in the order of follow shot, draw shot, and stop shot. Both cue speed and the behavior of the contact points show similar trends to the previous throw verification, without English. Comparing the side contact points is difficult, but generally, as the amount of right English increases from 6.5 mm to 10 mm, the throw amount is expected to increase. For follow and draw shots, the throw amount increases as expected. However, in cases like the stop shot at the middle contact point, there were instances where the throw amount decreased. This could be a misperception, a verification error, or just a margin of error. I will disregard it for now. Finally, here is the most significant discrepancy. The difference is 1.35. Exceeding 1.00 is very, very bad. The analysis of Subtheme 1 concludes. Based on the verification results of Subtheme 1, I will show examples of possible practical applications. These are configurations where the shot angle is full ball, and the ball can't be pocketed. This method uses English to change the path of the object ball and pocket it. Setup 2 is a similar configuration, but with a full ball shot angle where the cue ball cannot be positioned for the next shot. This method uses English to change the path of the object ball while also positioning the cue ball to avoid a scratch. Sub-theme 1 concludes. The second sub-theme is a verification of the behavior when the cue ball strikes with reverse English at a thickness offset by 1 mm. Vague prediction. Cue ball will stop with about a 1 mm offset. This is the position where the object ball is offset by 1 mm. Sub-theme 2 verification begins. Sub-theme 2 verification has concluded. I will show the results in a table. The table has been transformed. The data has been transformed into graphs. The graphs have been consolidated into one. I will now begin the analysis of Subtheme 2, Vague Prediction. Cue ball will stop with about a 1 mm offset. In conclusion, the cue ball shows no signs of stopping with just a 1 mm offset. In all shot settings, the cue ball moved significantly in the opposite direction. I was surprised by the result because I thought it would stop with around a 1 mm offset. Next, regarding the direction of the object ball, it appears similar to when the thickness is full ball. It seems that the only difference in the values is due to the 1 mm offset of the thickness. My personal impression was that there would be a significant barrier where the direction changes from reverse English to running English. And I thought the force would be greatly absorbed and converge at that barrier, but it seems I was completely wrong. Here are the tables for the full ball 0 mm offset, the -1 mm offset, and the differences between them. As mentioned later, the theoretical value for a 1 mm offset is 0.25 balls. It seems that the impact of reverse English does not become significantly less compared to running English. The analysis of Subtheme 2 concludes. Based on the verification results of Subtheme 2, I will show examples of possible practical applications. This is a configuration where you can only aim for a left -1 mm offset. The method is to aim at the left -1 mm of the object ball, use the throw effect of right English to pocket the object ball, and avoid a scratch on the right side with the cue ball. Subtheme 2 concludes. The third and final subtheme is, how much offset is needed for the cue ball to stop? I will observe the behavior by changing the thickness in 1 mm increments for each shot setting. The numbers on the left indicate the current thickness. Subtheme 3 verification begins. Sub-theme 3 verification, how much offset is needed for the cue ball to stop, has concluded. However, in replays or pauses, it was difficult to track the movement of the cue ball. I will replay the edited highlights again. Please skip if you do not need it. Again, Sub-theme 3 verification concludes. Here are the results in a table. The table has been transformed. The table has been further transformed. The data has been transformed into graphs. The vertical axis represents the thickness at which the cue ball stopped, in millimeters. The graphs have been consolidated into one. I will now begin the analysis of Sub-theme 3. How much offset is needed for the cue ball to stop? Shockingly, the maximum value exceeded 6 millimeters. It was so unexpected that I did not prepare for a 7 millimeters thickness. Let's compare with the table for Sub-theme 1 at full ball 0 millimeters. The throw amount of the object ball at full ball 0 millimeters and the thickness required for the cue ball to stop seem to be proportionate. Well, that seems reasonable. Next, from the footage with no English, I will calculate the practical value for a 1 mm offset equals 0.22. The footage shows a draw shot with no English, with 0 mm offset and 5 mm thickness offset, at 11 kph and 9 kph. I will calculate various averages to determine the practical value of the object ball when the thickness is offset by 5 mm. The theoretical value in calculations is approximately 1.25 balls in ball units. Note: this is the theoretical value for a 5 mm offset from full ball at the 800 mm position. If the practical value is 1.12 balls with a 5 mm thickness, then it would be 0.22 per millimeter. The practical value is 0.22 per millimeter, while the theoretical value is 0.25 per millimeter. The measured value in actual play is less than the theoretical value. To sum up, what I want to say is, if the ball shifts by 0.22 balls with a 1 mm offset with no English, and if the ball shifts by 1.35 balls with full ball and English, then 1.35 divided by 0.22 equals 6.13 mm can be calculated. It is assumed that a shot with English at a minus 6.13 mm thickness would cancel each other out. The table on the right shows the value of the 0 mm average divided by the thickness at which it stops. The result is around 0.22, but I am not sure. As mentioned earlier, it was proportionate, so it is a somewhat obvious result. However, it serves as additional evidence for the statement in sub-theme 2 that the impact of reverse English does not become significantly less compared to running English. Now that the cue ball analysis for sub-theme 3, how much offset is needed for the cue ball to stop, is complete, I will proceed to the analysis of the object ball. When the cue ball stops, straight line, at a certain thickness, where does the object ball go? Is it a straight line? These points will be considered. Based on the results value, the value between average 1 and average 2 is used to calculate the average results. Using the results value, I calculate the correction value, which I refer to as the adjust value. Average adjust indicates the direction of the object ball's path. In conclusion, it seems to be mostly, slightly positive, on the screen, towards the right, on the English throw side. I will now play the footage of the scene where the cue ball stopped. The footage also shows instances where it hits on the negative side, on the screen, towards the left, but the conclusion is slightly positive. I will try to explain. I am not confident I can explain well, though. The most influential factor is that, as illustrated in this diagram, the position of the measuring ball has not changed. For the sake of verification accuracy, the line of the cue ball has remained unchanged, and only the position of the object ball has been altered. Ideally, the measurement position would shift by 3 mm, 0.05, each time the thickness changes by 1 mm. In other words, the correct values are those with the thickness correction value of thickness times 0.05 added. The second factor is the ambiguity of where the straight line is. A stop shot is obvious, but the draw shot is obscured by the cue stick. For a follow shot, as explained earlier, the straight line should be slightly to the left. That is the detailed explanation. I will probably not conduct additional verifications with corrected measurement positions. The reason is that the direction of the object ball only matters for safety or bank shots outside of the practical application configuration, with only a few other cases. It's not very useful in actual play, and there are many other themes to prioritize. The analysis of Subtheme 3 concludes. Based on the verification results of Subtheme 3, I will show examples of possible practical applications. This is a configuration where you extend to the opposite side with a direct draw and English. It means you have to aim for a slightly reverse thickness. In actual play, since the shot would be stronger than 11 kph, the amount of offset is expected to be even less. Replay. The thickness appears to be correct. A follow shot with reverse English is a bit different, but you need to aim much thinner. I tried a K shot, but it did not seem very effective. There seems to be a significant problem with the effect on the direction of the object ball. Since all sub-themes up to sub-theme 3 are completed, I will conduct an overall analysis. The phenomenon I pretended not to see in sub-theme 1 was also observed in sub-themes 2 and 3. The problematic phenomenon is that, even with an increase in English during a stop shot at the middle contact point, the throw amount of the object ball decreases. The red line represents right English at 10 mm, and the blue line represents right English at 6.5 mm. Normally, the red line should be higher, but there are instances where it is unexpectedly reversed. I will now play the footage of the relevant part. It is a significant problem that it decreases rather than plateauing at the maximum value. It is also important that this phenomenon occurred with just a 10 mm English. I hypothesize this phenomenon as the wheel spin phenomenon. If this hypothesis is correct, it means that there is an option to add a lot of English to enhance pocketing ability. On the one hand, deflection becomes more difficult, while the English throw phenomenon decreases, a trade-off. I remember hearing something related to this topic. However, fixed ideas and common sense are frightening things. If this phenomenon also applies to shots with an angle, it is an extremely important factor that could be used in actual play. There are many questions, and further verification is essential. Finally, my personal thoughts. The results of this verification were almost entirely unexpected. My understanding was only correct on the most basic points, such as the object ball throw due to English. The most shocking result was that the thickness at which the cue ball stops with English exceeded 6 mm. This means that practicing for deflection by aligning at a full ball stop shot is extremely inappropriate. It's making it in by fluke despite the thickness being wrong. This concludes the analysis. The new caution points that emerged from this verification are as follows. Since the contact point moved horizontally from high, middle, and low, there is a possibility that the amount of vertical spin decreased. The movement of the contact point to the sides may also cause the cue speed to decrease as more is consumed by the spin. Other explanations for running English and reverse English were omitted. I also skipped over the definition of throw, regarding whether to include the influence of English in throw. I intended to make a light video on the basics of English influence as prerequisite knowledge. But the effect of side spin was much greater than expected, and the video became quite long. Finally, to summarize briefly, 1. Side spin changes the direction of both the cue ball and the object ball. 2. To reverse English, an offset of about 1 mm is insignificant. 3. Stop shot with reverse English surprisingly exceeds 6 mm. 4. Do not align for deflection with full ball using reverse English. 5. First observation of the wheel spin phenomenon. That's all. Based on the prerequisite knowledge from this time, the next verification, throw verification, with English, is the main topic. Thank you for watching.